All right. So, hi. First of all, I'm Desa, showing, as announced, the remake of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, which in itself is a prequel to the original Final Fantasy VII, which gets like a sequel in like a week or so because of the remake and all that. There are lots of Final Fantasy VII games. It's a pretty popular franchise. And yeah, I was gonna show the any percent category, but we did have the donation incentive that if we would meet, I think it was like $250, we would upgrade it to level 6. What exactly that is, I'll explain in just a second. I'll start the run because I'll have more than enough time to explain all of it. So yeah, I'll just give it a go. In 3, 2, 1, go. So, first of all, let's take care of the category. What's the difference between any percent and level 6? So you start the game at level 6, and in any percent, you don't see it right now, but there would be like a pachinko machine just rolling in the top left corner. It'll constantly roll and give you, depending on how long you've played, how much EXP you've accumulated throughout the run, chances to level up. It would also give you limit breaks, heal you every now and then, just all kinds of buffs. Just a pretty convenient tool, which has been revamped a little bit, where it used to be super intrusive, and now it's pretty much just like a background thing that randomly buffs you. And level 6 means that this wheel on the top left that you see right now will never give us a level up. We will be able to make use of the wheel during the first 3 fights, because you can't deactivate it before that, but after that we will not make use of anything that we get out of it. So the first boss fight right away, just a tutorial boss. It immediately shows one of the core mechanics in the game that we are gonna try to utilize as much as possible. If you hit an enemy from the back, you deal critical damage. Critical damage is always double the damage, so we, as much as possible, try to be behind the enemy to make sure that we get the critical hit in. Later on, we'll have different means of getting critical hits, and there's also a luck stat that'll give you a random chance, but that chance is pretty minuscule with the amount of luck that we're gonna get throughout the run, especially because they're not gonna level up. So we're gonna go with the level 1 or level 6 luck stat throughout the entire run. So, at the start, I guess I can explain a little bit about the game just to give you all, get you all up to speed. We're playing as Zack Fair, who is part of Shinra, a soldier, so-called soldier. If you played Final Fantasy VII, you heard of Shinra. Shinra is like the, as it turns out, evil corporation, and Zack is basically kind of like an employee, just like an employee that goes out on mission, defeats all enemies, takes care of all kinds of stuff. Like a mercenary kind of, but just like as part of a company. And yeah, this guy is basically what a very pivotal character to who will later be Cloud in FF7. I won't spoil the entire like plot twist and all that, but we're basically playing through this kind of story because that way it makes sense why Cloud does things the way he does. So yeah. We just did a little mission. We have 300 missions in this game because this game used to be on the PSP. And the PSP, especially throughout the time where Crisis Core and games like Birth by Sleep released, that it was known to have like all kinds of mini games or side content that is like really bite-sized, where you could take like 5 to 10 minutes of your day, or like if you commute, something like that, you could boot up a mission, quickly beat it, and that's it. Like, you'll have made some progress. You don't have to go to save points and all that, because those are accessed from the save point directly. There are 300 of those, and luckily we only have to do 4 of them. The first one is the tutorial mission, and then 3 more later on. So, while I was explaining the mission system, we were talking to that character. The purple guy over there, who's also part of Soldier. He just looks a little bit different to distinguish him from Zack and the others. And he was giving us a tutorial about the so-called, I guess, I don't even know what they call it, like some kind of item pot that is part of the company, basically like a little bonus for all our workers. They can just get like all kinds of materia, which is stuff we use to cast spells and all that. And at the start you get a bronze bangle, which is just a 10% HP upgrade. It's basically just like a little tutorial that you want to make sure all, like, oh, there's like, I'm back in the building, there's a new chapter, there might be new stuff in it. Whenever you come around, you just get all kinds of stuff. However, during the first time you access that pod, if you examine it 20 times, 19 times in a row, you'll be said by that guy like, hey, don't be greedy, you'll only get one thing. And around 20th time, he's like, you know what? Stop that, I'll just give you what I got. And that's the so-called curse ring, which I equipped immediately, as the curse ring, you'll see it in the top left, and you might have already seen it, blocks the pachinko machine. At level 6, the whole idea is that this machine is now blocked for the entirety of the run. So no level ups, no limit breaks, no buffs, just us, the sword, and maybe a few spells later on as well. So yeah, it very much handicaps us, because given it's an action RPG, yes, but it's also a JRPG at the same time, meaning that stats matter a lot. And depriving us of those stats by, as it's called in the game, cursing ourselves by deactivating the DMW is a pretty big downside, but it also makes for a pretty interesting run, as you could guess with all the level ups. The level ups might not be 100% consistent, which ultimately makes any percent a very sketchy category to run. Like, if you want to grind any percent, it's really like you're not in control of all of it. And it's like not the kind of RNG that you could maybe work around. It's just like straight up, you don't get the level up, tough luck. And level 6 gets rid of that, which makes it a very consistent category, and arguably a bit more skill-based, as you have to, of course, make sure that you don't die, because we are gonna stay at level 1 or level 6 health and defense as well, meaning that we'll just fold like paper the moment we step out of the early game. Which you might see later, if I can avoid it, but we'll see about that. For now, everything's still fine. The curse ring actually has a benefit, aside from blocking the DMW, because it gives us stats. And those stats pretty much elevate us to a pseudo level 8 or 9, meaning that we're quite overpowered for this area, and we're going to be able to blaze through the first 2.5 chapters of this game with close to no trouble at all. All kinds of chests here. You see there's like a little remaining forces kind of thing. Crisis Core does a lot of stuff where you have a main mission, like conquering this fortress or seizing this fortress, and it allows you to, I guess, go the extra mile to make sure that you reap all the rewards. For example, if I would get all the fights done here, I would get a fire armlet, which is very helpful for the boss that follows right after this. But I don't need it, and it takes a lot of time to get all of these, so I'm just getting the regular reward, which happens to be an elixir, which is, for our purposes, a lot better, actually. I should talk about the combat system as well. Messed up a little bit there. So, it is inherently an action RPG. If you played the original, you might notice that it's a lot faster than the original, because the original, it was very similar, but at its core, it was still kind of a turn-based game, because you queue up an action, and then Zack tries to perform that action, just like with the enemies. And all the actions are slightly slower, things are a little bit, I wouldn't say less responsive, but you can't necessarily cancel out of all of it. Meaning that with the upgrade to the new engine, well, wait, not new engine, but with the remake, it all got a little bit updated. They revamped the battle system. Things are a lot faster now. And it's very important to note that magic, which was the forefront of the original run, has been pretty much stomped to the ground in comparison to physical attacks, which we're going to see later. I'm going to be using a lot of those. And with mechanics that are going to be introduced later on in the run. For example, this one. This is the so-called ability power, something that was never present in the original. In the original game, enemies would just queue up their limit breaks, their super attacks, basically. And you have no way to avoid it. Usually they're tied to HP gates. There's some where it's just straight up tied to time spent in the battle and all that. Get rid of that. And the ability power is a new introduction where they basically give you the opportunity to counteract these limit breaks of the enemies by dealing a lot of damage while that ability power gauge is up. There are multiple benefits to this, because you can skip the limit break, so you skip a cutscene as well as damage that you won't take. And it also allows us to permanently crit. Instead of having to specifically face the back of the enemy, just attacking it will always crit the enemy while that ability power gauge is up. So we try to utilize it in a way where we land our biggest attacks during that ability power gauge activation. Okay, these guys are quite annoying. We won't see them for too long, because later on we'll have a lot of tools to take care of them. But in early game, we don't have many tools, so they're just running around like flies. Alright. And now this next fight, it's one of the few fights where I'll have to focus a little bit, so I'll be a little bit quieter here. But it's one of the few fights in the entire game that's just straight up scripted. You use a few swings to basically bridge the damage, but most of the time you use Blizzard or something that I just obtained, the Blizzard Blade, to deal a lot of damage. It's a very consistent fight, though I messed up a little bit earlier because I didn't wait long enough. I was a little bit too eager to attack. There we get big damage. Oh wow, okay, crit that we didn't need. Sure, why not? So, yeah. I mentioned that physical attacks are a lot stronger in this game than the magic attacks compared to how they used to be in the original game. The physical attacks are, except for like 4 or 5 late game materia, absolutely useless. In this game, the way they changed it is that because it's all faster, they wanted to, I guess, yeah, buff physical attacks. What they did is they implemented a combo system. The longer your combo is, the bigger the so-called damage multiplier becomes. If you use any command ability, like just out of the blue, you will deal base damage. Like if I have Blizzard Blade, for example, which I used on Ifrit just now, I will just get the regular damage. The damage numbers will be white. If I string hits in before that, if I use hits and then string in the Blizzard Blade, like after 1, 2, 3, or 4 as the max, it gets stronger and stronger with a 2 times multiplier if I use it at the end of a combo, like right here, for example. And you'll also notice the numbers go orange, which indicates that you have that big multiplier on it. So we're trying to queue up those kind of attacks after whacking away at the enemy a little bit, just to make sure that we get as much damage out as possible. And especially if the enemies having these ability power gauges and us being able to permanently critically hit them during that, we try to set it up in a way where those big attacks then come out exactly when we need them to even further increase the damage with the critical hits. Now with the God Spider, a very primitive fight, I would even say, because you basically just spam Thunder, wait until he does the spider web move, and then you continue spamming Thunder. The early game fights are not like super involved yet, because we just don't have that much to go with. Right. So, something that will become very important here, by the way, are random encounters. The encounters in this game are kinda random. It's not like FF13, for example, where the enemies just roam around in the overworld and you can actively choose to run into them. But it's also not like FF7, for example, where you just run around and just suddenly get an encounter.
Let's see.
In Crisis Core, the way it works, a friend of mine was able to, I guess, reverse engineer that process a little bit, and he even wrote a little script that draws the current map that you're on it onto a 2D plane and shows you the encounter zones, whether you're inside of it or not. Oh, I forgot to touch the save point. It's fine. And yeah, it turns out the way it works is that there are designated encounter zones in each and every single area, meaning that I can't just get encounters anywhere. I have to be in very specific locations. For example, where I'm staying right now, I could get an encounter or after this cutscene. If I, however, hug the wall, I am not inside that encounter zone in like 99% of cases. This is one of the exceptions. So basically the premise is you have designated encounter zones and you can run around those encounter zones to make sure that you do not get the encounters. There are a few occasions like that one just now where you will get the encounter regardless, because the chance the moment you step into that zone is 100% that you get an encounter. But that also doesn't apply everywhere. There are a few zones that we enter and just pray that we don't get the encounters because we don't have a way to avoid the zone. So, yeah. Upcoming now, due to the lack of tools right now, is one of the worst fights in a run, actually. The early game is a lot harder than the later parts of the game in here, by the way. It's just a random warehouse fight. We have some of these replicas and the Heligunner. This is where the... me not touching the safe point bites me a little bit. We only use Thunder on the Heligunner because that's what damages them the most. And then we have 8 of these assassins running around. 3 at a time. They're very erratic. They can cancel our combos, and it's very annoying to deal with those. Because not all of our attacks stagger them. It was a lot easier in the original. As in the original, the whole stagger mechanic worked a little bit differently. It was a little bit within your favor that just hitting an enemy, especially like a humanoid enemy like this, would constantly stagger them. So you would be able to loot them much easier. In this game, the stagger does not start until the third hit of the combo, meaning the first 2 hits. Even though they're fast, usually leave you wide open for attacks. One of the few downsides of the remake, in my opinion. Also, you might have noticed if you played the original, I'm running much faster. That's just because they added a sprint function, which I didn't know they were gonna do, but it was much needed. Very much so. It's very nice not having to run in this snail space, but being able to just sprint like they did in, like they implemented in 7 Hour, for example, in the remake. All right. Yeah, as mentioned earlier, a little bit of a weird time for Square Enix as well, because that was the time where they really tried to shoehorn in as many mini games as they can, like games like Kingdom Hearts 2, even Birth by Sleep, and this game as well. You see lots and lots of mini games just sprinkled into the game. Kingdom Hearts 2 has it like quite aggressively even. In this game it's not as much because the mini games are usually very short and they actually give you some kind of benefit. For example, right here we have a little rocket strike that's happening onto this town. Turns out it's actually just like a little test for Zack to make sure that if in case something actually happens, he could defend the citizens. And yeah, we're gonna make sure that we hit 9 out of 10 rockets, because if you get all 10, you get a little, like a 1 second extra transition, plus you get an extra text box. You get a little bit of extra money, but we don't need that money necessarily. We are tight on money, but it's not like that bad. And from one minigame into another minigame, we now have to hurry to Angil's house within 40 seconds. I'll explain who Angil is in a second, because I just realized I never talked about him. Before that, though, I'll quickly pick a few things up that I examined before going into the warehouse, as those are very valuable. I did mention we need money, and those are like in total things we can sell for 7.5k. It was, yeah. Very important. Touch the save point. Don't forget it again. Actually, I touched it in the warehouse. I didn't need to. And now, I would say for beginners, probably the hardest fight in a run, Bahamut. You want to guard whenever he lands, because he tends to jump up into the air, and if he lands, he creates a very powerful shock wave that just sends Zack flying if he gets hit by it. And you want to do your utmost best to avoid it. In between jumps, you also want a potion, because we want to make sure that we don't have potions once we get into chapter 4. But up until then, we're just going to try and use as many as possible. He also has a little ability power, so we're going to strike him 3 times. We're actually going to be in the back, even though we don't need to, because now this little assault twister also gets critical hits. Okay, I didn't use as many potions as I wanted to, but I can still sneak in one here. Okay. Yeah. That was decent. Yeah, the problem with Bahamut is really that it's not like a long fight or anything, and it's not overly technical. The problem is just that you die quickly. If you mess up once and decide to not heal, you will probably end that attempt pretty soon after. Yeah, after Bahamut, pretty much after almost every single boss, we have a little bit of downtime, I guess I would say, where we just run around, do various tasks. In this case, we get a little upgrade. He gets like, what do you call it? A promotion within this company, where he's now a rank 1 soldier. Just like his companions Sephiroth, who is actually still good at this point in the game. And then Genesis, who is the guy we're looking for. And Angel, who is pretty much the mentor of Zack. I will now do this Materia fusion and refuse to elaborate further. No. So there's another mechanic that was added to this game. It's a very concise run. There are a few mechanics that I'll have to go over. Materia fusion is something that is unlocked in this point of the game. It allows us to combine materia and is pretty much the bread and butter of a level 6 run, because with level 6 we'll not get stats naturally. What we'll do is we'll use that materia fusion system in a very advantageous way that kind of like offsets the lack of levels pretty easily. What we did just now is we combined a fire and a blizzard blade materia. And fire, blizzard, thunder by themselves are like a little bit of an elemental triangle in this game. So if you combine fire and blizzard, you get thunder. If you get fire and thunder, you get blizzard and all that. And we need a thunder blade for an upcoming fight, so we basically prepared it for further use. I could have actually, yeah, I could have actually bought the items that I wanted to as well there. I'm gonna do it right now because I might need some in the next mission. Actually, no, I can maybe avoid it. If I got a drop, I can avoid it. Yeah, we'll be doing some missions because I did mention earlier there are 300 missions in this game, and these missions, while short, still take up some time. However, the mission that follows this one has a reward so good that we just have to take it. It gives us 2 strength plus 10 accessories, and with strength being the most important part stat here, because you don't need HP. As long as you have 1 HP, you're good to go. But strength is very important, so we can get rid of the enemies faster. That's why we're doing a few missions, just to make sure that we have enough strength to actually defeat the later bosses in the game. Oh, yeah, I didn't end up checking if I have what I need, but I'll just buy it now. I actually didn't, so good that I've double checked. What? I did not know we have a sound like that. Alright, so yeah. I guess with this next fight, it's similar to what I just did now. It's just a little bit more dangerous. I'm just gonna spam thunder, just gonna defeat a few enemies. I can get one shot there, so I'll try to avoid getting clipped by an enemy. But while I'm doing that, I guess we can have some time for some donations or messages. If there's anything to be read out.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that indeed was a donation coming in from Duravon, who has written in the comments, one of my favorite RPG game series. Looking forward to the run and the battle next run with Fight Star Magician. So that's gone towards both getting the Goosebert shirt through naming the Golden Sun free character. Yeah, so that's a $90 donation from Duravon. Thank you very, very much for the big bumper. Sorry if it shocked you.
All good. Power tech, there we go. All right, so we got a little equipment. We can't use all of it immediately. We'll make sure to be able to use it later on. But now we're a lot stronger. We still have the curse ring, because of course we're gonna keep it. But we are dealing a lot more damage now. Usually this fight would take quite a while longer at this point. We also got something called Power Attack, which is a very useful materia, especially its upgraded version, the Vital Slash, but that I'll talk more about when we get to it. We now have a little ambush fight where we're gonna spam the Thunder Blade that I created earlier as much as possible. And if possible, I'll try to even no damage this fight, because getting the rank 1 or the first rank upgrade changes the mechanics up again, because now we get some... Oh, I got hit, whatever. Ending a fight gives you bonuses. You might have already observed it. If I finish a fight in certain ways, like for example not getting hit, guarding every single attack, or just finish a lot of enemies with abilities, I get bonuses. I either get my AP back, which is what I have to utilize to use actions like Thunderblade, Assault Twister, or Power Attack, which I briefly talked about just a bit ago, as well as like very important ones later, like High Jump. You're gonna see lots of jumping here. Like those squats that Zach does in this game, they're not for nothing. And yeah, basically, if we finish the fight without getting hit or with defeating a lot of enemies with certain attacks, I will get some of that AP that I expended restored. Like just now I got 50% AP restored just by finishing the fight because I defeated, I think it was like 16 enemies with an ability, which is very beneficial. Now Geo-Racer, you want to try and get to his back as much as possible, but there are only a few attacks that allow you to do so. Like fire if you wouldn't be stuck on the wall. And yeah, you want to basically try and catch him off guard as much as possible. It's really hard though, because that man moves a lot and fast. Can you? Thank you. Alright, here I have to watch out whether he attacks or not. I took it safe and just assumed that he's gonna attack. Probably gonna ability power again. Yep, and that should be it. This is one of the first fights where it gets a little bit dangerous because he can deal a lot of damage. And at this point our health is not that good anymore. Plus, again, he moves a lot, he's rather fast. All the bad things. So if we have more to read out, by the way, this would be a prime time. Like, for example, what exactly we collect the donations for, or something like that. Because as we're on level 6 right now, it means we're weak. But now is the time where I'm going to try and offset that as much as possible. And that means lots and lots of menuing. Like, by the time you're finished, I'll probably still be sitting here menuing.
Okay, well, while you're looking at a wall of text, I'll be reading out a wall of text. No, but seriously, guys, we are raising money for Make-A-Wish Foundation. You have already collectively brought in over $37,000 so far. It's been absolutely incredible. Thank you all so very, very much. Make-A-Wish is an organization who really changes lives, and in particular changing lives for children with critical illnesses. So these can be any kind of illnesses ultimately that require critical or very serious medical care, and ultimately these are incidents that's completely out of anyone's control, but ultimately result in these kids losing their childhoods or losing part of their childhoods. And Make-A-Wish was founded in 1980 in order to help bring a little bit of joy, a little bit of fun, a little bit of play back to kids going through pretty much something that nobody, least of all children, should go through in their lives. They have already granted over 550,000 wishes across 50 countries. It's been absolutely incredible. We've had a few examples as well of wishes that we're hoping to grant through the week of VSA. So we've got our target of what we're hoping to raise, and a number of wishes that are waiting for your donations. And these experiences, they can be, in some cases, something as simple as meeting a favoured YouTuber that the child is a big fan of, or getting arrangements to have a Christmas with family out of the country that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get to because no funds, or hospitalisation, or treatments that are ongoing. That kind of thing. Make-A-Wish can bring both those kinds of big, unassuming, impossible wishes, but also just things that are kind of simple that a lot of people in other situations would very much take for granted. And all of that is made possible thanks to very, very generous people such as yourselves donating for an amazing cause. So this is it, and that's what we're trying to do, is to make wishes happen, to give kids the chance to play again and feel a bit of joy, and through playing games, through hopefully, we hope anyway, bringing you guys some joy. So we've got a number of, well, I guess also incentives for you guys to donate as well. It's not all altruistic, obviously. If you do donate, if you do choose to donate, if you donate more than $25, for instance, you'll be in with a chance to win one of several prizes, including a Nintendo Switch. For a $50 donation, you'll be given a chance to win a PS5. We also have T-shirts available, Goosebert and the ESA 2024 T-shirt for $40 donations. So you've got so many things to bring the thought, or just the thought of making some wishes come true. Back to you. It sounds like your wall of text is over.
All right, yeah. So that menu is pretty much one of the big reasons that we're even able to do level 6 in a timely manner. It does take a while, meaning that if you don't exactly know what you're doing, or if you do a little mistake here and there, you might have to either repeat it, or you're just generally a little bit slower in the menu, meaning that this is a little, or a big, turning point in the run. But we basically made sure that we get a lot of strength, as much as we could possibly get at that moment, which is why we collect all kinds of elixirs and phoenix downs, accessories, not to use them, but to sell them. And we use that materia fusion system in a way that I guess I have a little bit of time to go a little bit more in depth on it. We have all kinds of materia classes. So certain materia can only fuse into certain materia, meaning that I always have to look out on what I combine with what. Every materia has its level. There's levels between 1 and 8. You don't actually see the level, but every materia has like a range of which level it could be. If you collect something, like a cure for example, it's usually a cure level 1. If you fuse anything with it, it's a cure level 2. It doesn't actually strengthen the materia, it's just important for the materia fusion. Because if you combine two things with one another, like for example a fire and a blizzara. I already talked about the elemental triangle, that fire and blizzard becomes thunder. It won't turn into regular thunder, but it'll turn into Thundara, because Blizzara is level, I think, 3 or 4, something like that. And it's the same level as a Thundara, so it'll just take the highest level available in the Materia Fusion and accommodate that into the result. Especially in the original version, it's used a lot to get very strong materia early, but we also use that in the next chapter, actually, to make sure we get one materia that's supposed to be for endgame pretty much at the start of midgame, which is very convenient. You're going to notice that we're going to be very strong. And furthermore, every materia has its inherent stat that it can upgrade. Every materia, for example, elemental materia, fire, blizzard, thunder, is usually there to upgrade your magic stat. If you get level ups, which we don't get at all, you can level up your materia as well. And leveling up your materia causes the stat increase, the inherent stat increase, to increase as well. So if you would get a fire level 5, for example, you'd have like +4 magic on it or something like that. However, there's a little soft cap, or I guess a little caveat to that. If you what we call break the materia, meaning that if you get the stat buff from +2 to +3, which you can change with the materia fusion, without the materia basically converting back into its original inherent stat bonus. Let's take, for example, Thunderblade. The inherent stat bonus is magic, but we made sure that it gets attack by bumping it from 2 to 3 while making sure that it gets an attack bonus. If we would just put anything on there, it would just immediately divert back to magic and that's it. However, because we crossed that threshold from 2 to 3, the game will now never divert it back, without like more materia fusion of course, to the inherent stat bonus, which is very, very good for us, because then we can just pump stats like crazy. Fireblade, yes. And get very strong. Like for example, our power attack that I used on the G Eraser earlier, the little Genesis guy, the boss earlier. That one has, I think, +10 attack on it. And other... Oops, I was a little slow on that. Other materia that we'll get later will also have lots and lots of strength attached to it, because strength will be the most important stat for us. We'll also have HP later on, but the HP actually doesn't even matter until straight up endgame. And now we also unlock Jump, which is the little brother of our actual tool, our so-called High Jump. But we aren't going to use it for this fight, because... Oh, this and the next fight. After that, we get High Jump immediately. I talked about materia levels. Like Jump, for example, would be level 3 materia. Assault Twister, which is the spinny move that I used earlier, is a level 1 materia. I think level 5 is... Yeah, level 5 is actually High Jump. So level 5 is what we're going to be achieving later. And then later we're going to get level 7 for Assault Twister Plus. And we're going to access those through Materia Fusion once again, but not by getting like... by using a materia that is of that appropriate level. We're still going to use like level 1 and level... I think actually 2 level 1 materia. However, during this mission... I lied earlier, it's 6 missions, not 4. During this mission, we're actually going to get something called the Item Fusion Tome. It expands the already complicated Materia Fusion system by allowing us to include items, and those items also have a, I guess, grading or level to them. We made sure that earlier when I was selling things, we're keeping 2 star pendants. Those star pendants are going to be what allow us to use, or allow us to get High Jump in like just about a minute once I took care of this guy. Which this guy is actually a lot more annoying than his boss counterpart, because he doesn't use his super attack, his like little limit break, meaning that he'll never stand still and he constantly runs around, and it's such a pain. I am very happy that this actually went kind of well. Also, I got a potion drop from him, which is nice, because I was talking earlier how I don't want to have potions, but I'll explain that a little bit later. So I just need to make sure that he dropped the potion. I'm gonna go into the Materia Fusion menu. Gonna take my Assault Twister and the Lever to put attack on it, and then I put 2 Star Pendants on it. You see it transferred to High Jump. You might have also observed that below that Materia symbol, there's always a little like sword with a number on it. For example, Jump has a sword and an 8 on it. Fire has, I think, an 8 on it as well, which basically just gives you a rough idea of how strong the Materia is. High Jump has a 40, which means you could guess it's 5 times stronger. But as you see, from now on, because you're not supposed to have it right here, a lot of fights will be very, very easy. At least the mob fights. The boss fights are still a little bit more complicated because you can... Of course, they can hit you back and we have like no health, so we're just gonna fold. We are now... Wait, I was gonna... Oh yeah, the potions I was talking about. I was trying to get rid of potions as much as possible throughout the run, because in about 20-30 seconds, there's gonna be a little fetch quest. A little kid steals our wallet. Gonna call us poor later as well, but that's besides the point. We're gonna try and get the wallet back, but all these guys in town here, they obviously see that we're from that electric company, Shinra, and they don't like us. So we're kind of proving ourselves to them, but they still will not help us find the wallet. The first 2 guys, you can just talk to them and you don't have to meet any conditions. The third guy, the little kid here, he wants a potion, which will help us advance. If you have exactly 1 potion right here, the way I had it just now, so I had it set up just right, he will not ask for more, because he'll be like, oh, you don't have any potions, I can't help you anymore. If you have more potions, it's just a minor time save, but if you have more potions, he'll ask you, yo, do you want more hints? Or something like that? Which you don't need them, because we only need 1 hint to progress the story here. Meaning that having exactly 1 potion from that Genesis guy we fought earlier is pretty much optimal, what you want to have. It's not a guaranteed one, but you get them more often than not. Alright, worms. The combo system comes into play here as well, because without the combo, I would not be... What? You survived. Without the combo, they would not instantly die. This guy didn't die anyway, because it's a damage roll. But yeah, without the combo, it would take 2, maybe even 3 jumps, and we don't even have the AP to accommodate for that. I was like talking all about High Jump is super strong and all that. Strong Materia needs lots of maintenance, meaning that our AP, which is still level, our base level, is gonna run dry real quick. We have like 105, 114 maybe AP. I think 105, yeah. And High Jump needs 35, meaning we have exactly 3 high jumps that we can utilize, and then we're out. Then we either need to use items to restore it or finish battles or something like that, which is another thing that we're gonna try and rectify with the Materia Fusion system later on. But for now, we're gonna advance the story a little bit further and then go into our final mission, which we also got the Steel Materia now, which is basically our means of increasing our AP. But more on that later. We're gonna now enter this final mission. The reward is a keychain. There's a keychain in the backpack, I think, that you can get in 2 missions, like this one, 722, gives you the keychain. I think it was 725, because all of the missions have like numbers attached to them. As the one that gives you the backpack. They just allow you to equip more accessories. We currently have 2 accessory slots. We grabbed some accessories earlier, because now, after we beat this big spider guy, we're going to be able to equip another one, which means more strength, obviously, because who needs health? We're going to back attack him as much as possible. And now we're going to queue in high jumps. Oops, I might die. Yep. Yeah, I was a little bit too eager with that steal. And you see, I die very, very quickly. And we're still, like, not even halfway through the run. So let's do it again. I'm gonna back attack. Get a high jump at the end of my combo to deal massive damage. We're gonna use Shinra attack 100 can. That's good. Now I can steal. Because we want a lot of money. Meaning that I will try and steal from lots and lots of enemies. As I will from this Reactor, for example. Because he gives pretty valuable stuff. Oh, I didn't get a back attack on that. It's unfortunate. Now maybe? No infu. Oh, okay. Spiderweb is unfortunate because he just dodges our moves that way. But it's fine. There we go. We have more than just high jump, even though we rely pretty heavily on it. Now we're gonna equip Power Wrist, which I didn't even pay attention if I got the drop or not. I should have made a save earlier. I paid attention to it. I probably got it. Yeah. I can see a friend of mine, fuming that I didn't even pay attention to that. Of course I got it. It's a 7 and 8 chance, but, you know, it could have gone wrong. Wouldn't have made a big difference. I would have just had to accommodate for that later. I would have just made this section a little bit slow. Wait. I was about to say, he queued up an attack. What was the attack? Okay, these guys are a little bit tougher, but now this next fight is going to be a joke. 6 enemies. We just use 2 high jumps and it's over with. High jump is very, very strong. This next fight is very important that we steal from this guy because he gives us an accessory that gives us 7.5k. If I get it. If I get it. If I get it. There we go. 4th time's a charm or whatever. And then we end the fight. Because that Venom Shock, I think you can also drop or give you like, what's it called? I don't even know what the other one's called, but both of them are worth 7.5k. And it's very valuable because we did have a longer menu earlier. We're going to have one more slightly long menu. It'll take a little bit. So if we have anything else, now would be another good time.
Oh, thank you very much. So just to remind you, we are raising money for Make-A-Wish. The actual rewards have now been met for today. So I think you guys at home give yourselves a massive round of applause. Perhaps even in the room, we have met every single reward with every single milestone that we've been going for today. Thank you so much. That has unlocked basically all of our bonus content for Stream 2 for the remainder of the day. So obviously we're already watching the level 6 version of the Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion run. So, just to make things a little bit harder for Desa, or at least a little bit flimsier anyway, in terms of defense. But then Golden Sun 3, we've also got the main character. The name has been claimed. We are fighting the Dark Star Magician. We've got the Rainbow Chaos Chimera. The Simpsons Hit and Run language choice has been chosen. And so all of that has been done. So yeah, thank you guys so much. You've absolutely smashed it. We will hopefully be, we're bringing you a lot more content. If you do still want to claim yourself a shirt, Goosebert or ESA Winter, that is a $40 reward. Just make sure you include your size and stick your address in the appropriate spots, and we will get that out to you with your donation. Thank you guys so much.
All right. So, as earlier, we're basically just pumping more strength by utilizing a Cure and a Fire to get Cure to +2. And then we have our +9 and +2 and combine them together. The way the stat increases work, I guess I can elaborate on that real quick as well. I even have an extra one because I messed up earlier, but it's fine. The way it works is that it takes the highest stat that... the highest stat that you have on your materia, and then it has half of the secondary material you use. Meaning that, for example, my jump has 10 strength. If I use something that has +2, it gets +1. However, it all gets rounded down, which is why if I use a +1, nothing will come out of it. That's why I can't just pump any and every material onto it. Okay, so now for Bahamut Fury. Oops, yeah. So in OG, this would already be very... Oh. Okay. I'll explain that in a sec. But in OG, getting hit would have already been kind of a death sentence because it's a way longer fight and he can use a super attack, which we cancelled here because in Reunion you can just deplete the ability power gauge, as I mentioned, and you will not see the limit break of the enemy. That one usually is pretty devastating in the OG game. However, in this game we can work around a little bit by hitting him with a combo into a high jump to deal massive damage and then dodge his following attack. If it's a fast attack, the high jump with Jack jumping into the air will already take care of the dodge. However, if it's a slow attack like the swipe you just did, you need to dodge on point to not get hit by it. It has 4 hitboxes. I did get clipped by the last one. And after that, you'd usually want to try and press a little bit more damage, because then he decides on his next move. And if he's weak enough, he has a chance to use his ability power. But I think it might not be guaranteed. It might also just be a damage roll. I'm not 100% sure. However, he still popped it there. So I was able to just completely annihilate him. You saw I dealt like 7,000 damage with that high jump earlier. The damage cap is 9,999. At least if you don't break the damage cap with post-game items pretty much. But the regular damage cap is 9,999, meaning that I got already like surprisingly close for being, what is it, like 40 minutes into the run. 45 maybe. Level 6, like while being able to catch up in mid-game will fall off hard later, though. It might not look super hard, but you gotta remember that while the fights are fast, they can end the fight just as fast, and you can just be absolutely destroyed. As mentioned earlier, like a flimsy defense we have on ourselves. So now we're in Materia, and this area is very notorious, especially in the OG version, for getting encounters, and you have to be fairly precise with like taking corners here and there and running along the wall to make sure that you don't get those encounters. It's pretty easy to trigger them in accident, though. It's really not hard to actually accidentally run to something. But it's not that big of a deal. You saw earlier, if I get into an encounter, which the encounters early in that reactor are all unavoidable, you can just run away by pressing yourselves against the edge of the battle arena, and then a little meter fills up. The moment that meter fills up, you're done. A lot nicer than the original, because again, the original, you would press yourselves up against that wall. You didn't have a meter, so you would just have to kind of guess when you're going to run away. It felt a little bit RNG as well sometimes. But being a, like, I guess, pseudo turn-based game, if an enemy queued up an action, he'll finish that action. And if that action kills you, then I guess you gotta load a save, because you also don't have a retry function. Also, another minigame. There's a little bit of an infiltration minigame that you want to do in a fairly precise manner. That dispel I picked up, by the way, is the only chest in the entire regular game that they changed. And it's a very pivotal chest, because in the original version it was a death materia, which basically lays the groundwork for the entire route, or almost the entire route in the original. And in this game they were like, you know what, let's remove it. And by removing it, they didn't necessarily hurt us, because luckily we don't need magic. But in initial routing, we were a little bit skeptical on what will happen with the run now, because the one thing that we cared about is now replaced with Dispel, which is also good, but it's not Dev. Dev is a little bit better. And that whole infiltration minigame, the way it works, is you just have to stay out of sight, but the moment you get seen by one of those guys, they will immediately run after you. And you will get into an encounter. Getting to an encounter means that you will then lose access to one of the items that I was able to pick up. There are like 5 items there, but we only care about the 3 that are actually in our path. So that was a boss fight, by the way, another one. As of many others, it was a very quick one, but also not even that dangerous, actually. In this version, it's not that dangerous. The way it works is you just attack a few times and high jump in a way that it hits his ability power. And it's not... I think it might be a glitch. We're not sure if it's a glitch or an actual mechanic. It's more likely a glitch. If you break the ability power of an enemy, or like the limit break, with an action ability like high jump or fire blade, if you don't do anything and pretty much immediately queue up another attack, like another fire blade, another high jump, just something that deals damage, that will keep the multiplier you had. So if you had a full 2x multiplier from doing a full combo earlier, and then follow it up with a high jump to break the ability gate, you can use another high jump after that to use something that we dub damage storage, where you basically retain the multiplier for one more move. Usually the multiplier depletes right after usage of an ability. The only downside is you don't have to crit, but honestly that doesn't matter. We still get just extra damage for free, which is crazy. So a lot of strats, especially in later fights, are built around that. Like Genesis, for example. I was high jumping twice in a row. We're also going to use that on this next upcoming boss fight. A fairly pivotal one in terms of the story. Which, again, a much harder fight in OG, but this one, it's probably one of the first fights that's, like, technical in mid-game. What you want to do at the start is you want to unleash a combo into a Fire Blade and then Dispel, because he uses Protect to reduce the damage he takes by like, I think 80 or 90% in this version. We immediately dispel it and then we just combo him. Then we use 2 Fire Blades. And the way his ability power works is that once he reaches certain HP thresholds, his next action will be a limit break. However, we deal so much damage that he has 2 of those HP gates that we go from 1 HP gate straight into the next one, so he queues one after another, so we can just crit for days. And deal, like, I think that's like 24,000 damage in an entire combo. That guy has like 30,000 health. Maybe a little bit less. So this game is like very much geared into the favor of the in favor of the player. Now actually one of the, I guess, more stressful fights of the run, because it never, like, 2 fights are never the same and they're usually pretty slow as well. Oops, I already don't have AP. The G diver fight. There are 6, 7, I think it's 6 G divers. You open up with a high jump just to make sure to hopefully kill them all, or at least spread out damage. And then you just pick them off however they spawn. They spawn in somewhat of a pattern, like they have designated spawn locations, but the first spawn is never consistent. However, after that first spawn, you can kind of guess where the next ones are gonna be. It's still not that nice because they're never gonna be pretty close to each other, and our AP is still kind of low. We'll change it in a second, so we cannot spam high jump as much as we would want it to. However, we're gonna pick up 5,000 money because there's just 5,000 money running, lying around. We're gonna sell our last few accessories that we had and purchase Somas, which are AP restorations items. Gonna combine with... Nope, the other way around. Don't... Wait. Yeah, steal the spell. Yeah, I need it this way around. I just need to make sure, because if you do it the wrong way around, you keep the spell instead of steal, and you really want steal for later on. What I did there is I used those Somas in the Materia fusion to make sure that instead of 10% AP that I get from the steal, I get, I think it's 110%. So now you see my AP limit is not, I think it's 104, but instead it's 209, which allows us to use way more high jumps. We can just jump for days now. Furthermore, you see we have a new shiny sword. A little sword that might be familiar to you if you have like any knowledge on FF7, the Buster Sword. We basically got it by finishing the previous chapter. And this Buster Sword in this version of the game, again, introduced a new mechanic, because this version of the game loves introducing new mechanics. It's called the Battle Stance. If we hold X and square simultaneously, so attack and guard, which I think if you change the button layouts, it actually doesn't change. Like the square part, I think stays the same. I'm not 100% sure. I don't really like to change the button layout too much. But what it does, before we were doing combos to make sure that we have a 2x multiplier on our action abilities. However, now we can just pop a battle stance, and that'll immediately give us a not 2x multiplier, but a 1.8x multiplier, which is much faster than comboing. And much more versatile because it also, like while we're in the battle stance, reduces damage by 80%. So it acts like a pseudo reflect, meaning that we can queue it up to dodge an enemy's attack, or tank it rather, and counter attack with one of those high jumps. And now, as you see, we're also hitting the damage cap. We won't be breaking the damage cap in this run. We won't get the item for it, but we'll have other means by going beyond the damage cap. I actually already surpassed 10,000 damage with one attack earlier, because Fire Blade also has 2 hitboxes, meaning that if they both together could theoretically deal 19,998 damage. Yeah, it sounded like an elixir for a second. Okay, so General's tank is a little bit annoying because he doesn't like to move a lot, only when he like doesn't need to move. And he's pretty big. He spins a lot. He doesn't necessarily move, but he spins a lot. And you want to hit his back as much as possible, as he's a very resilient enemy. He doesn't have much health, but it's one of the longer fights. The way you want to work around that is you kind of want to position yourself... I guess if you have him as the, like, front, if you're looking from his perspective, around, like, 50 to 60 degrees to the left, on like next to his wheel, and that way he will more than likely after an attack or two turn around and try to like do a little U-turn kind of thing. The important part is that he'll show you his back, meaning that we'll be able to get critical hits. All right. This is the one buff from breaking the run, because most of this run is just like go, 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 even though it's a very short run, and I guess not the most difficult run, but like you basically just go at it and at it and at it. You don't have really any breaks. This is the one time where we can actually chill a little bit. So if we have anything.
So, as we mentioned before, we are raising money for Make-A-Wish. You guys have already brought us in an incredible amount of $37,319. Thank you so much. This is going towards, well, essentially making wishes come true. It's all in the name. We've got some really great, well, incentives that have already been met. So we've already got the, obviously, the level 6 version of the run. I'm very glad to see that the category has now been updated. We've got some extra content on the Golden Sun 3 run coming up next as well. So, but please do keep those donations coming in. You can also support Make-A-Wish through your subs, through your Twitch Prime subs, through gift subs, through cheers, all of that, all the proceeds from those go straight to our charity.
All right. Next fight is God Scorpion. It's one of the few fights, or prototype God Scorpion, because they wanted to be cool and rename it. It's one of the few fights where you don't want to just go ahead and spam battle stance high jump, at least not immediately. Because what you want to do is you want to hit him a few times. Oh wait, Soma. You want to hit him a few times at the start to basically wait for him to do something, which hopefully is the pincer attack, but can also be the shots. It doesn't really matter. Then you want to roll around him. If he does the pincer attack, you need 2 rolls. If you shoots, you need 3 rolls because he'll spin around with you. And then you'll be able to then proceed and just battle stance high jump. Hopefully he won't turn around too much. And that's pretty much the fight. But it's one of the few fights where we have like a little bit more AI manipulation in there, besides just the HP gate thing, because we have to look out for him queuing up actions so that we can make sure to get or press as much damage as possible. And now we're in the one chapter where I am so happy that we have both cutscene skips and the sprint option. This chapter, or I guess this entire segment, which is like 1.5 chapters, and the original is like 35, 40, 45 minutes even, in the speedrun before you do anything. I think it's like 35 before you even get into a fight after this one. It's a little bit jarring after a while. In Reunion, it's luckily only 6 minutes and it's a little more quote-unquote action-packed, but you have to like actually do more stuff because you don't just sit there, watch cutscenes and run around in this speed, but in like proper sprinting speed. We'll only take like a few minutes to finish this entire segment. And what we're basically doing is Aerith, who is like kind of presented as the love interest. Well, she kind of is the love interest of Zack. I think they actually do get together at some point in the story. And now they're trying to build a flower wagon, because at some point throughout the game, Zack promised her a flower wagon. It's the one that she actually uses in FS7 as well. And there are 3 different versions of the flower wagon, depending on how, I guess, elaborate you want to be on the side mission, on like collecting all the materials for it. But we're just gonna build the regular one. We're just gonna be a wooden cart. The other ones are actually pretty funny, because the second one that you build is a pretty one. Like the first one is just a very simple, very easy wooden like cart where you could put your flowers in. It looks like a little bit like a, how do you call those things? Like the child trolley thingies where you put babies in and then...
Prams, pushchairs.
Pushchairs, yeah. A pushchair. And kind of looks like that. The second one, similar, but like with more decoration and all that. The third one is pretty funny though, because you basically build like a weapon. Like just a rolling mechanized weapon. At least it kind of looks like one. And you also have different cutscenes with it. The first one is just a little kid trying to buy a flower. The second one is... oh, wait, no. Wait, the first one is an adult wanting to buy a flower, but then like being a little bit shrieked off by Zack. The second one, people actually buy flowers because the thing like looks nicer. And the third one, you have Shinra employees coming up to you and be like, hey, we need to compensate that weapon of yours because we need to use it in our research and all that stuff. Just like, what is happening? It's a flower wagon. This game has some nice humor to it if you would actually like watch the cutscenes. But that'd be slow, so we skip.
No, the story.
The story.
No.
This game would add like, I think at one point I didn't like just put all the cutscenes together, but it was like a rough estimate of only 2.5, 3 hours of cutscenes. It's a lot less than I thought. Because like playing through Christ Core, you feel like it's a lot of cutscenes, but it's really just 3 hours at most.
Although you could beat the game twice while watching them.
I could beat the game 3 times if I could.
I mean, maybe if
Even
the cutscenes
more.
I mean, if the cutscenes are, you know, 3 times the length of the game, maybe they're kind of long.
Yeah, like the original version has, I think the current record I have in that is 538 or something like that. While this version, the record, which is held by Big Sid 119, who is, by the way, in case you guys are like into Crisis Core or JRPG speedruns, action RPG like Kingdom Hearts or something like that, that guy is a menace. He doesn't stream that much. Man's cooking with every single game. As well as this one. A lot of the strats I've been using are of his making. So shout out to him, of course. And he currently holds the record in the any percent category for this, which I think he got it down to like a 113 RTA, which translates to like a 106 without loads, which is pretty hefty. And yeah, if you take that 113 RTA, you could put that like almost 4 times into an original run, which is 538. On emulator, it's a little faster, but that's because the original one also has like 45 minutes of load, which is kind of ridiculous. PSP was not that strong of a console because they decided to just not overclock it. Alright, Nibelheim. After all those fetch quests earlier, we have a little bit of story left. It's not that much, especially because we can skip cutscenes. Usually, in the original game, you'd have a 3-minute introduction cutscene, then those few walking segments, then 5 minutes worth of cutscenes, followed by the one thing that ruins it from being a proper break, which is, after this cutscene, you have to... One sec. Walk up these stairs. And then another 5-minute cutscene. Without this little gameplay segment, it would be a really nice break, but nah, they had to shoehorn that in. But after that, we finally get to properly play the game again. Now we have battles. We're gonna battle stance into high jump, into a regular high jump, into stealing, because this guy, just like his brother earlier, gives us a 7,500 gil accessory. And then we dispose of him with another battle stance high jump. And now I guess the worst part of the run, because... Oh, that's not even part of it. That's just me messing up. In the next room, not in this one, there are 4 encounter zones that you cross, and you cannot avoid any of them. We assume it's like a roughly 50-50 chance that you get an encounter per encounter zone.
Activating combat mode.
But it also might be like 1 guaranteed per descent. Like the percentages, I think, actually increase the more encounters you dodge. So now we got 1 out of 2 encounters. I already dodged the first encounter zone at the very beginning of the room. I dodged the 3rd encounter zone as well. And the 4th. So I got a 1 descent, 1 encounter descent, which is pretty much the best case scenario. Usually you'd see 2 out of 4. If you're a little bit more pessimistic about it, you'd say you see 3 out of 4 every single run. You can get 4. Yeah, you can get 4 out of 4, but it's really not that common. You can get it. I think in practice I actually got 7 out of 8 encounters, because we have to walk that way up again later. Every single time. So it's pretty refreshing to know that I'm already safe of that horrible, horrible bad luck. We're now going to do something that it pretty much, I guess, highlights the route of this game. What really highlights the route in the original one is the usage of Fandaga or Costly Punch later on. In this game, it's, of course, high jump, but also this Vital Slash. There's a whole big, elaborate, and interesting side quest that you can do in Nibelheim. And I'll explain more once I count it, because now we have 4 keyholes that we have to look for, and we have to count the objects inside. We now have, for example, 5 ghosts. I need to be very careful because some of the ghosts are almost completely off screen. We have 3 chairs, so I have a 4, 5, 0, 3 right now. We have books on the right side of the map that we're not going to look at because it's 4, 5, or 6 every single time, and it takes way too long to get there. And then we have fruits in cans, which there's 1 on the left side every single time. There are 3 on the table, 2 there. So 6, 7. So it's probably going to be 4, 5, 7, 3. Nope. 5, 5, 7, 3. Nope. 6, 5, please. Don't tell me that I checked incorrectly. Okay, good. So yeah, the books can be 4, 5, or 6, so we're just gonna guess that one. And the other ones you just have to count meticulously. The ghosts are pretty hard to count. And then we have a little bit more of a menu. The last, I would say, long menu in the run. We sell a few more of the accessories that we got earlier. Then we buy... Oops. Let me do it right. As many potions and somas as we possibly can. We fuse Cura and Steel, because now we don't need it anymore, and put our AP on Cura. Which we won't need Cura, but we just combine them because it's a vacant slot. We combine Jump and High Jump to put the Strength on High Jump. We combine Blizzard and HP up with potions to get Barrier, because now we finally have HP. Like, not a lot, but we'll go from 600 to 900. And we equip Vital Slash, which we just got. Vital Slash is the only materia in the entire level 6 run that is going to be leveled up. If you don't get lucky at the start of the run, but that's a different topic. Because the Vital Slash you get here, it's the 3rd step of a 7-step side quest, the 7 Wonders of Nibelheim. But you don't actually have to go through the first few steps, which we only found out after a little while, that you don't have to do those, to actually access the Vital Slash. You can just access it immediately. And the good part is, it's mastered, and every single level on the materia increases its strength. And it has plus 15 attack on hit, just because why not? Which means it's absolutely goated. We're also going to turn around and get the fire ring. Shoutouts to Ian here, by the way, because he basically made the entirety of endgame, I guess, reasonable with that accessory, though it's still pretty hard. Yeah, that Vital Slash, it's very important because it's basically just power attack. Like, the difference between Vital Slash and power attack is, like, in terms of strength, nothing. They're the same. However, Vital Slash, while power attack is able to stun the enemy, Vital Slash is basically its bigger brother because it always crits. Meaning that we now, along with having our Buster Blade stance, our battle stance, to increase the multiplier for basically free, it costs 10 HP, but we don't care about that. We can now also basically crit for free, which is very, very, very convenient because, especially with like the upcoming boss, which is going to be Sephiroth, we're not going to be having a lot of time to go behind him. So what we're going to do is we're just going to spam Vital Slash, save ourselves the walking around him, and push as much damage as possible. Sephiroth is somewhat of a scripted fight. There are 2 ways it can go. You can either get lucky and have him not spam his limit break twice in a row, or you're unlucky and he just spams it. I'm gonna go over the fight in detail as much as I can. We're gonna attack twice at the start, queue up a battle stance, while he queues up his draw slash, and we're gonna jump over that. We're gonna battle stance and vital slash twice. The second one is gonna break his... I messed up! Okay, well, that's okay, we're just gonna try again. I forgot one thing in the menu earlier, which made me use power attack instead of vital slash. They're supposed to swap places. So now, high jump, and now vital slash. Instead of 4,000 damage, I'll be dealing 10,000 damage. Ability power, this is the pivotal point. Now, if he spams it again before I connect, yep, that's the bad scenario. Because now he's gonna get Heartless Angel out, which means I will take damage. And as I mentioned before, there are bonuses that you get by finishing the battle, for example, with an ability or without taking damage. What we want to do is we want him to not use Heartless Angel, because that way we get the no damage bonus, and the no damage bonus is just enough so that we have enough AP for phase 2. But we didn't get it, so I had to spend an elixir. I could have used a Soma, but the elixir is safer. We're gonna high jump. Metal stance, wait. 2 Mississippis, I get. Oh, I weighted incorrectly. Wrong around the Mississippi. Okay, I had to dodge roll through that. And then I'm gonna Vital Slash him again. The way it's supposed to go is you're gonna high jump onto him. So you're close to distance as well as deal just enough damage because he has just about, like, slightly above 20,000 HP, meaning 2 Vital Slashes is never gonna cut it. High jump, close to distance, deal a little bit of chip damage. Battle stance into Vital Slash. You can either go immediately and just pray that he doesn't push you away, or I guess mistime it like I did and get pushed away regardless. And after the first one, the second one connects every single time. But if it goes out of order, he can one-shot you. Pretty much anything he does. He can just look at you weirdly and you just lose the fight immediately. Because we don't have a lot of HP. We have Barrier equipped, but Barrier is slow. What we're going to do now is, you see Cloud is not doing so fresh. Because what happened here is we had a little bit of a time skip. After the Sephiroth fight, things go down a little bit. Zack and Cloud both come incapacitated, and Sephiroth actually dies in that scenario as well, or throughout that fight. And yeah, after that, both Zack and Cloud just can't go on anymore. So the scientists inside this Shinra building, because this is a Shinra manor, pick them up and start conducting experiments on them. Those experiments take 4 years until Zack regains consciousness. And we're basically past this time skip now. So now we're gonna try to escape Shinra Manor and make our way back home to Midgard, because Erev's waiting for us. If you played Final Fantasy VII, you know how that ends. So yeah, we're back in Nibelheim. We're just gonna approach the gate because we're about to leave, but we're gonna get stopped by some Shinra soldiers. Luckily, the strength that we picked up earlier allows us to make quick work of these guys. I'm gonna do a little bit of a RNG strat where I'm gonna... The first wave, I will always use a regular high jump, because if I crit the guy with the red cape, he has extra HP, like this, he gets defeated immediately. If I don't crit him, then I just defeat him and battle stance for the next wave. It doesn't matter because the battle stance delay is long enough where I don't lose time to trying to get a crit. I do lose time if that guy decides to just not be part of the group.
Here we go.
So yeah, and then for the last one I battle stance. The goal is here basically to make sure that these guys don't drag Cloud out the town, because they would just abduct him at that point. We don't want that. We want to keep him. There's a whole nother game to play after this. Okay, that guy survived again.
This'll do.
This is probably one of the hardest fights on hard mode in the regular game, because this game actually has normal and hard mode. I might show hard mode in the future at some point, but in a regular game on the hard mode speedrun, this is the hardest fight in the game, because you have an RNG way of getting rid of the enemies. You cannot defeat them in time. And you have a timer on yourself, and you're not strong enough. You're not going to be able to defeat those enemies. Hard mode on the PSP version is horrifying. I'm scared of no man, but hard mode gets me every single time. And you're basically just using an eject button kind of attack
We're leaving town.
to hope that they get kicked out of the fight. But it doesn't work all the time. We now have a little bit of downtime because now we're basically just making our way through Mount Nibel, or Nibel outskirts, sorry. And we could be shooting those guys, but instead we're just gonna run away, make our way to the next boss. And while we're doing that, if we have any messages, that would be a good time.
Thank you very much. We have a $10 donation from Q Natrix. Thank you very much. There's no comment, and then as I said that, Q Natrix donated another $10, and this time did add a comment. So thank you very much, Q Natrix, for your double donation. $2 The comment reads, "When are you going to do the read all emails aloud % crisis core run?"
I did the run before I collected them all, which was basically 100% on PSP, and it was like my first longer speedrun. Longer as in took like 27, 28 hours. But yeah, I didn't read them all out. I was kind of tired after that. I didn't really feel like it.
Fair enough.
All right, so we're now approaching the next fight, the G Eliminator, who gets his name for a reason. He is pretty strong, but that's mostly because we're weak. If you go here with an appropriate level, this fight is actually kind of a joke. We do 3 battle stance high jumps while trying to dodge his moves, so basically pay attention to what he does and gauge our next action according to that. We're gonna have to Soma at some point. I'm gonna die. Yep. That was not the time to Soma. But yeah, we're gonna, again, battle stance high jump 3 times. The 4th one we will not battle stance because it kind of is a waste of time and resources, as the ability power and the crit that comes along with it. Oops. Okay. The crit that comes along with it already gets us close enough to damage cap that we don't need that extra damage. So we just basically save ourselves the little ready up animation that Zach does. Then we throw 1 Soma throughout the fight because we have to get our AP back somehow. We just don't have enough damage yet. If we would constantly hit damage cap, even with the ability power one without using battle stance, we would actually not use that Soma, but battle stance takes up 10 AP, which is too much for us to skip the Soma. Funny little fact about this here, if you enter the cutscene from the left side, for some reason you can skip it. Otherwise you have to wait for like 5 seconds. It's really weird. Then we get the 1 missable shop in the entire game, which is also the most important one because it features a lot of high tier materia for Raga, Bazaga, Fandaga and all that, and it also features the so-called DMW materia. That materia is essential for our purposes in both original as well as reunion. And it's also very, very useful if you're gonna try to 100% the game. But I'll go over that later. We now have another fight. We're gonna start with a high jump. Hope that they group up. Do a battle stance high jump. Hope that he doesn't wall up now. Do another battle stance high jump. He walled up, so we're gonna vital slash. But because I didn't take damage,
Conflict resolved.
No, I'm still not good. I still have to go. Okay. That's fine. Yeah, that's pretty much the dream scenario. If he doesn't wall up, you can save a little bit of time by high jumping instead of vital slash, but vital slash is strong enough where we just annihilate him anyway, despite him having protect. The MW material, the reason it's useful is because you would necessarily basically get a higher chance of getting a specific limit break, but the way we use it is in materia fusion because it's always counted as a tier 8 material, just the highest tier possible, meaning that whatever you combine with it, it'll immediately be max tier. Fire immediately for Raga. Or jump in Assault Twister, immediately Assault Twister Plus. That's what we're after. But first, Hollander. Something that I never touched upon is several fights, because this game is basically still the PSP game. We're still playing the PSP version, just with pretty colors. And, like, slightly updated in terms of mechanics and all that. However, because it's still a PSP version in the background, and that bug exists in emulator as well, because in emulator you load faster. If you load too fast in some of the fights, the game cannot keep up. It gives you control for like a split second. However, if you don't use that split second, you will be locked for like 4 to 5 seconds out of doing anything except for moving. The moment you move, the game is like, oh wait, yeah, battle's going on. Sure, just use your stuff. But it kind of like stumbles along the way and forgets that it's supposed to give you access to your tools. And that's very apparent in that Hollander fight, because if you don't move, you're just standing there for like 3 to 4 seconds not able to do anything. So you will basically always hold forward at the start of a fight just to make sure that you actually get to do stuff. Now, that's something that was present in emulator as well, because there was one fight in particular very early into the run, after the big menu when I fought the Sahagin. If you don't move, Zach gets either... I have not gotten that encounter in a while. Zach either gets locked into place... Oh my god, don't spread out like that! Zach either gets locked into place, or the funny version that only happens on emulator, unfortunately. Zach just starts sliding and forgets how to walk. He just doesn't have his walking animation anymore. Looks pretty funny. But yeah, that's unfortunately emulator exclusive. This is the final dungeon. A little bit unfortunate of a final dungeon. There's a whole entire like prison area to it, which is not that interesting, but it's better than just this, though. This is a pretty, like a really pretty area in Reunion. Fun fact though, if you're going for the Platinum Trophy, you never have to enter the proper dungeon area like the prison cell now. You only have to unlock it. But unlocking it gives you an achievement for, well, unlocking the area. There's nothing tied to that room. So in the Platinum Trophy run that I did, I think a year ago or something, yeah, you never see that room. There's no benefit to going there. Which is a little unfortunate, but yeah. Even in the regular run, you never even come close to unlocking. You just collect the seven, I think they're called Heaven Materia, or Goddess Materia? Goddess Materia, right. Like Heaven, Light, Sabbath, all that stuff. Being Materia. And you're gonna put them into a little altar at the end of this, I guess it's still a dungeon, to then go into a little gauntlet. One fight, after which you can catch a little bit of a breather before the final fight happens. So we're actually not far from finishing at this point. But before that, it's still level 1, so level 6, so we're menuing. And I have a ton of excess money, which is very, very good. I get some items, Blizzaga and Lucky Stars. I then fuse Kiraga and Blizzaga because Blizzaga is actually useful and Kira is not. We don't need HP, we need damage. We combine Barrier and Drain, which I picked up earlier, because Drain is one of the only things that we have in our inventory that doesn't override the HP bonus on Barrier right now. We also combine Gravity and Fire to reset it into an Assault Twister. I don't exactly know how that works, but it works, which is good, because now we combine Assault Twister and Lucky Stars into Assault Twister Plus, which is the strongest thing we use in this entire run, because it's not as strong as High Jump, but it has 3 hitboxes, meaning that we can deal like 16, 17, 18,000 damage per hit, especially if we crit. It's really, really good. And now one of the scariest fights in the game. G-Regicide. This guy, if he wants to, you can just one-shot you. So now I'm gonna try and dodge an attack, use an elixir, hope that he doesn't use Trifandaga. Battle stance, Assault Twist. You see it deals a lot of damage, especially if he ability powers. He did not use Trifandaga, which means I got very, very lucky on that fight, pretty much. Very nice. And now, before I forget it, the whole reason I picked up the Fire Ring earlier is to equip it here. It unfortunately takes away 5 strength, but it's very important because the upcoming fight is kind of a raid boss, I guess you could call it, because it's a big boss with big health. And whenever he goes into a vulnerable phase, he summons minions. And those minions are... 2 of them are very easy to take care of. And the main ones are Problem Child, have damage, inherent damage resistance, as well as Protect, which means they take no damage. However, they're also weak to elemental damage, meaning what we do is we equip the Fire Ring to double our damage on them. And then we high jump after 3 Assault Twisters to make sure that we catch them somehow. We want to get rid of 3, if possible all 4 Shadow Sides before we do anything else again. I got rid of all of them, only 2 of them respawned, that's really good. Gonna high jump a bit more to make sure that the guy on the left gets it. Oh, the guy on the right gets it as well, nice. But he survived, what is he doing? The problem with these guys is if they use their regular Scythe attack, I get 1-shot. Even though I have Barrier up, which halves the damage that I take, I still get 1-shot. Barrier just makes sure that I don't get, like, well, not 0.5. So it's a 2-hit attack, and I would get killed by the first part without Barrier. With this, I can at least try and get away. Then Shadow Flare, I gotta remember, works different than in the original version. I gotta dodge differently. Gonna recast my spells, put some more spells on him, and then I'm gonna fight the sword. So I've attacked the sword in phase 1, didn't really say anything, but the sword has 3 orientations. And I basically have to find its back to make sure that my Assault Twister pluses all get critical hits, and that way I get like 13,000 damage plus per hit, which is really, really nice. However, you have to find the backside first, and if you use a Limit Break, which luckily we deactivated in this category, the backside just disappears. Because why wouldn't it? That's exactly what I was talking about. I tried to heal real quick, and that guy took the opportunity and sliced me. By the way, the estimate is for any percent. The estimate for level 6 is 130, just in case anyone cares about that. Okay, let's try again. 3 Assault Twister pluses. This is by far the hardest fight in the run, by the way. It's also by far the longest. Then we start high jumping, hopefully like 3 to 4 times. Scary. Okay. Okay, they're all gone, so I can now get like 2 to 3 Assault Twisters out. Don't touch me, thank you. If I get critical hits, it's even better, because then they get 2 shot. Dodged. I don't like that. Oh, they're all so far spread apart. Okay. Luckily, they're not strong against magic. And I did not see that guy. I thought he was dead. They're not strong against magic attacks, so I can try and use Blizzard on them. But yeah, this fight is difficult. For sure a run killer, which is always nice at the end of a run. And by the way, the only reason this isn't a complete disaster is because after firing that, a runner called Hello Internet suggested at some point, or I guess routed in. And yeah, without that one, this would be absolutely horrible. Now it's manageable. But as you see, it's still very easy to get defeated. If the battle stance wouldn't have like inherent resistances, we would just cry. We'd probably just go range the entire time and have a way longer fight. I don't know what we'd even do at that point. Okay, I'll do a high jump. Lazar, you're not doing anything. That is very nice. Now, while he's in his little protective stance, we're just gonna spam magic, which was not possible in OG, by the way. He doesn't take any physical damage, which is the little buff that he has. Okay, that whiffed someone. That was scary. But yeah, you can still hit him with magic. In New Game Plus runs, you can one-shot him before he puts down his sword, but that's also New Game Plus. You're quite a bit stronger there. It's just funny to me personally, as someone who grew up with the original version, that you can actually attack the big guy now and defeat him. Okay, I got an elixir. That's very good, because that means I can just freely use one more. I've still have, yeah, I have excess elixirs, but that's never a bad thing. Thank you, I jumped over his attack. Okay, the guy used the spell, and if it's anything but gravity, I get one shot, even in battle stance. So I kind of need to make sure that the Shadow Mage doesn't do anything stupid, but he didn't. So now a few more Blizzagas. He'll probably use his Limit Break because I didn't deal enough damage, yep. So 3 more Blizzagas. If I use a 4th one, I just waste animation time. Actually, I'll even stop now. Yeah, that Blizzaga would have probably not hit anymore. Luckily, this cannot kill. This is the one good change about the, like, I guess, accommodating change in this fight. He cannot kill with that move. In OG, he could kill with it, but here he cannot. Alright. Now onto the final boss, which is extremely technical. This one is super difficult, but the next one is super technical. Which is this guy, but in smaller. Genesis. We start with something we call the Pepega, which is just a brain-dead Vital Slash. Dash into him. Battle stance, Assault Twister twice in a row. Wait for him to stab us twice, and the moment he retracts the sword, we do it again for, I guess, no crit? Sure. He will then use homing. We use Barrier to set ourselves up for later. We have elixirs left over. Gonna start high jumping a lot more. He uses Dancing Sword, which is nice because it's a long animation. If we want to go safe, like I want right now, we're just gonna spam high jump, battle stance high jumps for the rest of the fight. Though you can still die during that. If he does that, I can use this to get another Sortress out and at least frustrate this guy. Oh, nice. Okay. That went pretty well outside of the big guy, but that guy, Genesis Avatar, is always a problem. I don't think I've ever had a marathon run where I didn't die to him at least once, because he's just hard on level 6. It's so much nicer than 80% where you constantly get healed, you actually have more than 1000 HP, deal more damage, just everything lines up way better for that fight. But yeah, that was it for me with Crisis Core. In case you're not tired of me though yet, I'll be back on Friday with KH2, a little shameless self-plug. So make sure you'll be there for that as well. And yeah, that'd be it from me. Thanks for having me. See you guys in 2 days.
Great. Thank you very much. What an amazing run. Thank you, Desa. We will be right back very, very soon with our next run of the event. We'll be having Golden Sun 3. So yeah, please do not go away.